Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Made in New England interview series, where we talk with New England-based companies and the people who lead them. I'm your host, Steve DeVries, and today our guest is Nick Grewal, founder, president, CEO, and chairman of ePropelled, located in Guilford, New Hampshire. Nick, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. Hello, Steve.
Hi.
Truly appreciate you actually having me on.
It's my pleasure. So, Nick, why don't you kick us off and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and ePropelled?
Okay. Well, I grew up in England, graduated from London University, did a little bit of work there, and then a company from Andover, Massachusetts called Gould Modicon back in early 80 brought me over to Massachusetts. So, and then the next 20 odd years I spent building, either working for or building companies around the 495, corridor in Boston. And now, after being here almost 45 years, I think I really am from New England.
I love that. So tell us about ePropelled. What an interesting business. You and I chatted a little bit before we started recording, but I want everybody else to hear what it is that you're doing up in Guilford.
Okay. Well, I'm a bit of a history buff, and I love technology history and how industries develop and how they mature, etc. Okay. And what happened was this, in the last 10 years or so, it's becoming very clear that our planet needs a lot of help. So I thought that was a good thing to do. So, to try and clean up the planet off the carbon, that was really the start of it. But the second part of it was that I have so many hobbies where I like to fly, I have pilot's license, I have captain's license, so I love running boats out in the ocean as well as on the lake here. And I love to race cars, and I've raced cars all over the world. Okay, so bringing that together and looking at history back in over 100 years ago, there were companies such as, Mercedes-Benz, Rolls-Royce, and others, that actually were into propulsion of vehicles. And if you look at Mercedes-Benz, for instance, the three-pointed star, basically what it means is by air, by land, by sea. So I said, okay, if we're going to clean up the planet, we need to clean it up in all of those things. So we actually are doing electric propulsion, which I assume is cleaner, especially if it can be generated cleanly from solar and wind, etc. And provide it to actually propel any vehicle, whether it's in the air or it's in land or it's out at sea. And that's the charter of ePropelled.
Wow. Okay, then you taught us something new about that Mercedes symbol, which is pretty cool.
Thank you.
So you've been in business. You told me that you're coming up on your sixth anniversary of ePropelled. So yeah. What has driven your success to this point?
Actually, I think so I'm a person that's not young anymore, and I still can't get off the fact that I love building companies and doing things. So this is obviously the latest thing that I'm trying to do, and I think it becomes a passion to try and do things. And also, most companies, their biggest job is to create value, and there are a lot of stakeholders in that value. There are obviously employees, and people here in New England are employees, and there are shareholders. There are also stakeholders in the company, and there are vendors that are shareholders in the company. And so as a result, you actually are trying to create value for everybody. And the way you create value is by spending the least amount and creating the biggest revenue or outcome, if you like. That to me is value. So I think what we're trying to do here is be very frugal New England style, and try and build a really big company. And I think now that we're in New Hampshire. We were split actually in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, but now we decided we are going to be in New Hampshire. And who knows, eventually, if the company grows, we could be in Massachusetts, we could be in Connecticut, Maine, etc. So I think I want to be known as a New England company that is an American brand.
I love that.
Thank
So
you.
when we look at your business, you're a manufacturing company. It sounds like first and foremost, you're making these fantastic propulsion systems. When you look at your business, what kind of metrics are you using in order to measure the health and success of the company?
Okay. Um, I think the key part of the success always is the company growing? Is it positive? Is it positive cash flow? And is it making money for the investors? And is it providing good environment and jobs for the people that are working there? I think those are the kinds of things that we want to be able to measure and actually articulate to everybody that's involved in the company and everybody outside that's involved in the company. I think those are the key things. The other part of it is what kind of value are we bringing to the world? Are we cleaning up the world? And it doesn't matter where it is. We happen to be in 3 continents, and all 3 continents need help in reducing their carbon. I think that is the key criteria. If we can keep on, building the company, building value for all the stakeholders, as well as clean up the planet, what else can you do? Okay, what can you wish for?
A clean planet sounds like the ultimate metric to me.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you.
No, thank you. So what excites you most about the future of your industry or ePropelled specifically?
Okay, it's a brand new industry, and brand new industry always has lots of action going on. There is always going to be lots of new companies trying to do new things. Okay, so I think that is really exciting. At this phase of the industry, and in any industry, and I can say whether it was automobile industry, aircraft industry, and so on, computer industry, networking industry. So you have lots of ideas going on, and eventually it becomes standardized. Hopefully, it's the best parts of those technologies, not necessarily always, that become standards, and the number of companies that are there after the standardization has happened, become much less. Actually, in the automobile industry, there were over 1,000 companies in the U.S. alone. And at the end, there were maybe 3 left. Okay, and I can say the same thing in networking industry, aircraft industry. Now we only have one big company in the U.S. that's an aircraft company, that's Boeing. And so this is what happens to industries. But if you can remember all those industries and the guys who were entrepreneurs, toiled and came up with the best ideas, sometimes they became real and they became real successful. Other times they didn't, because at the end of the day, it's a combination of technology, it's a combination of innovation, it's a combination of marketing, it's a combination of adaptation by the end users that make it successful. And I'm hoping that we can actually see in this industry down the road, and we can actually say we want to be there. We want to be the people at the end that can actually build the standards. And so we're actually driving that stuff. If you look at our industry right now, there are people that make motors, there are people that make controllers, there are people that, do communications and stuff. We're trying to do all of that stuff plus a little more. It's like, if you're going to need propulsion in the air, for instance, it has to be very reliable. And you want to be able to tell, that there's something going on. So we have a concept of a service engineer being designed into the product. So he's there taking all the data, if it's a flight or it's a drive or whatever, and he's taking all the data and hopefully sending it back to us, to say it's going okay. And if something's going to break, it tells us before it's fatal. So I think those are the kinds of things that we're trying to build in, and hopefully the rest of the industry will follow.
It's quite a vision for your business that's only 6 years old, but it's so clear. Like as you're describing it, I can see it.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, so let's, we've talked a lot about fun things, positive things. And so let's say I was able to hand you a magic wand and I said, Nick, if you could do one thing with this magic wand for your business, for your industry, what would you do?
I think that I would actually try and say to people, you know, please make your product really solid by doing all the testing and stuff before you actually give the industry bad name. Okay, so I think you can actually get stuff out there too early, and there are some companies in the EV space and the UAV space that are really good. They established themselves. Some of them are 15, 20 years old, and I think some of the companies that come to mind, people like Tesla, I think it's doing great in the propulsion space. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to win at the end of the day, but I hope they do, because they really are setting some of the standards. And we're trying to do the same thing in EV and in the air, as well as marine motors. So hopefully we will actually do enough testing to make sure that they're solid, so that people never get a bad name. ePropelled should not be associated in any shape or form with anything that bad happens in the industry. I hope everybody else does the same.
That is a great use of a magic wand. So you've talked about, the fact that you've been here in New England for 45 years. ePropelled was born here, here in New England.
That's right.
So what pros or cons would you describe in terms of having your business here in New England?
I think pros are that the environment for the people that work here is awesome. Whether they're working or they're at home. I mean, we get 4 seasons. We get beautiful landscapes. There's lots to do. You could never get bored in New England. There's no way. I think those are some of the best things that you can imagine in New England. So why not work here? And I think from work point of view, I think we have the best universities around. Okay, I much rather be here educating anybody's kids, my kids, or any kids that come by in New England than somewhere else. Quite honestly, how many Ivy League schools are there? How many universities are there just around Boston? Never mind about all the other places, in Connecticut and New Hampshire, etc. I think it's a great place to start. Businesses. There are some really smart people, and a lot of smart kids actually come from all over the world to be educated here. Why not hang on to them?
I couldn't agree more.
Right.
So, Nick, last question from me. Any advice for budding business leaders or anyone facing, say, similar business challenges in a new industry such as yours?
I think first of all, if you're entering a new industry, you have to understand that there are no standards. Okay, so people can do anything they want. Really, it's like an open book. You have to write your own rules and your laws. Okay, when the founding fathers actually established America, they had to come here and they had to write the rules, they had to write the constitution, etc. In a way, in a small company, it's exactly that. You actually have to be able to say, this is going to be our culture. This is how we're going to do things. I think it's really good to actually do that, very early on. And the second thing is also work ethics and innovation, because, innovation means change. Without change, nothing happens. I think my friend Charles Darwin actually said, you actually have to change or you die. As simple as that. I think it's always good to remember that. And I think I would say that to all the young guys, young kids that are actually trying to build new companies. The last part is, when you're actually building a new company, don't take on too much money, because your culture will get used to it. So you want to be hungry, you want to be starving, and that actually creates a great culture, and it enables you to actually build something with the least amount, and you can actually create great value. At the end of the day, it's not like how much money you raised, it's like how much money, what kind of a company you brought in that brought in, real value to all the stakeholders. I think that is the key part here.
That is amazing advice. Don't take in too much money and
No,
don't allow that to take over your culture.
that's right.
What a great point. So, Nick, thank you for being with us today. Everybody, our guest today has been Nick Grewal of ePropelled, the leader of ePropelled. Nick, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for joining us.
Steve, thank you for having me. You're doing a great job here in England with this podcast. 100% support you, and I hope that you continue and keep on going from strength to strength.
It's my pleasure. And thank you, everybody out there, for watching and listening. We'll be back with another episode soon. Be well.
Thank you.